Well, hello, everyone. I want to welcome you to the Books and Such podcast. I am Barb Roose, your host for today. And usually I'm joined by my other agent co-hosts, but they have the day off. Today is a special episode of Books and Such, the podcast, because we have just a very, very important guest to us as well as publishing. I want to welcome Mark Rice. He is the publisher and senior marketing director at Kregel Publications. Mark, we are so glad to have you on the podcast.
I'm thrilled to be here. Thanks, Barb.
Well, I am thrilled to have you here. We wanted to give our listeners an opportunity to just hear from a publishing professional. And for us at Books and Such, we have an opportunity to work with the great team and staff at Kregel. You and I had a chance to meet up about a year ago. And I know that listeners, just publishing is so mysterious. And you have an esteemed career and you have so much to offer. So we just appreciate you being a part of today's conversation.
Yeah, thank you. I'm looking forward to the questions, and it's fun to share. You learn at sort of my stage of career that you know some things, and so you don't know everything, and publishing is still mysterious, but there's some things you know that you can share. So hopefully I know this will be fun, and hopefully it'll be helpful to the listeners.
Well, I know it will be. And to help us get into the conversation and to help our audience get to know you better, would you tell us 3 fun or interesting things about yourself or what you're enjoying in the season of life?
Yeah, I'll focus on sort of what we're enjoying and what I'm enjoying in this season of life. I've been in publishing over 40 years, which is really hard for me to believe, but it's true, and I've loved it. I really have. But specifically at this stage, my wife and I are enjoying being empty nesters, quite frankly. We spent a month in Florida for the first time in my entire life, and we loved it. So that's kind of a personal thing, but we're enjoying the fact that we can do that. We couldn't do that before. This may surprise you, Barb, but I'm reading for pleasure again. I'm at a stage in my life where, if you're in publishing, you're reading and you're always reading. But for a long time, I just capacity-wise had to put that aside. So I'm reading for pleasure again, and I'm thoroughly enjoying it again and what I'm reading. So that would be probably another one. And the last one, which is probably more professional. I've always enjoyed leading, but I'm really enjoying leading at this stage of my career. I kind of alluded to it before. You find out you know a few things. I love helping develop staff. I think that's probably where I get some of my greatest joy is developing people. And I love helping authors launch books. You've heard me say that before in author conversations. I'm a marketer at heart, and I still to this day, as long as I've been doing it, and my job means I do a lot of different things, but I get the greatest amount of joy sitting together with an author and helping them launch their book. I hope I can keep doing that for a very long time.
And you and I have sat in author meetings, and your enthusiasm for authors and how to help them launch well always comes through. That is, I love hearing you talk about the passion after all of these years. Wow. Well, let's get into that a little bit. Tell us, how did you shift into publishing, and tell us some of those career highlights?
Yeah, I was listening to your podcast, and I think I was listening to Janet Grant talk about kind of I think it was about the future of publishing and what to expect in 2026. She was asked about how she got into it, and my path, while different, has some similarities. That being, I kind of backed into it. That's the way that I did. I was an intern. I had an internship that didn't work out. Back in those days, you didn't even call them internships. You called them independent studies. That's how far away that was. And I had an internship that didn't work out, and I was so disappointed. I knew I loved marketing. I knew that from the time I had my first marketing class in college. I knew I loved trying to figure out what makes people tick, why they make decisions the way they do, what impacts them. I loved that part. I knew it. Anyway, I dejectedly walked back to my professor saying that I just could not do this internship that I was in. And he said, well, I just got this new internship request. I mean, everybody else had internships that was in it. So I was kind of going to be stuck. And he said, have you ever heard of Zondervan? And I was like, nope. Zondervan. And he said, well, they're looking for a market research intern. Do you have any interest? And I said, sure. So it had market in it in terms of market research. I went to Zondervan. I actually interviewed with some people on your audience may know him, Bruce Reiskamp, and I haven't looked back since. I'll also add in terms of highlights. So, I mean, it's been a great career. And that's how I got started. And I'll just say this for your audience, and that is publishing has been a great career, but I have a passion for interns as a result. I just think I have always in my career tried to hire them and try to give them good leadership because that's how I started. In terms of highlights, I would say, I'd say it in terms of what I'm most proud of. I'm most proud of, I kind of alluded to this earlier, but I'm grateful and proud of the leaders who have poured into me. The lessons I've learned from them have made me who I am, and I will never forget them, and I'll never be able to repay them. I am also probably, in terms of career highlights, and this might surprise people, they maybe expect me to just talk about books I've launched and authors I've worked with, and I will. But I'm also really proud of the teams that I've been able to work on and the people that I've been able to lead and develop. Many of them are still in publishing and have flourishing careers in publishing. I'm a people person. I'm a team person. I like working in teams. That's partly why I like working with authors and agents. But I am also, as accomplishments go, I am very proud of the people that I have helped lead that are still flourishing in publishing in lots of different publishing houses. That means a lot to me. And then the last thing, and that really does have to do with books, but I want to couch it this way. Instead of a laundry list of here's all the famous authors that I've worked with, highlights for me are, and this also gets back to something I said about working with authors is where I get the greatest amount of joy. Some of my favorites were when I have been able to work with an author to either help them accomplish a career goal, or and those that would be more for an established author, or help a really good story take flight. I think some of the books I'm proudest to have published, some of your audience may not know those authors, but we recognized that it was a really good story. It needed to be published, and we were able to help that author not just get published, but do it successfully. Good ideas are good ideas. And I'll name drop a little bit, but it's not because I'm trying. But John Burke, Imagine Heaven. There's a long story in that book getting published, and there were a lot of people that were like, "Nope, no thanks." And I remember sitting down with him at his home and saying, "We want to publish it," and one thing led to another. I mean, that kind of a thing. And then
can we stay there for a second? Because again, there's a lot of writers who are out there, and there are just some writers who, those are the kinds of stories where they just go, oh, there's hope, where there's somebody with a good idea, but the road just seems a little. And so would you tell us a little bit more about that experience? And as you reflect on that story, why has it stayed with you all these years?
It has stayed. Yeah, that's a really good question. That's a really good point. It stayed with me all these years because starts with an author having a good story to tell and being passionate about it. And I don't know if it had been rejected by other publishers, but he had written another book. I was at Baker at the time. He'd written another book for them, and it hadn't done very well. And so there was this second book idea that he had. And frankly, the recent pass often influences what publishers think of how the next book's going to do. And that was going on. And my boss and I at the time flew down to be with John because we had an interest in it. And this is where publishing is about relationships. And it's about an author being passionate about what they're doing and being willing to lay it on the line for that publisher. So in terms of how that book got done, he basically said, I believe in this book so much, and I'm telling you it's going to sell this amount. And if you don't believe me, I will publish it myself. And my boss and I sat there and we said, we believe you. That's how many it's going to sell. And off we went. Now it's gone on to sell way more than that. But
do you know what was the title of the book again?
Imagine Heaven. John Burke was the author, who had written other books.
Yeah.
But none had done as well as that one had done.
Do you remember about the last time you paid attention about how many it had sold the last time you thought about it?
Yeah, it's in the millions. I don't remember.
Then.
Yeah, I don't remember the number, but it's in the millions. Yeah.
It did okay.
Yeah, it did okay. But let me just, I'm sure there's a lot of new authors or hopeful authors in your audience. And let me mention another example. And this is a new author that we published last year. Her name is Erin Lynham, and the name of the book is The Nature of Rest. She has a website. Go to it if you're interested. It's called Nat Geo. This is another one where it was just a really good idea. And when you have a concept that you can just articulate in one sentence, it helps. And her book is about she's a naturalist, and she is about being outdoors and what nature can teach us. And the book is called The Nature of Rest, and it is about what nature can teach us about Sabbath rest. So she goes on and tells stories. Like one of the chapters is about a hummingbird. What if you think about a hummingbird, you're not really thinking about resting, but it is what a hummingbird can teach us about Sabbath rest, right? Yeah, it's such a delightful story. It's such a delightful book. And I love it when that happens. The book has done very well. We're so pleased with it. It continues to sell. But again, there was an author who had a really solid idea, and we felt like we could find an audience for that author. And we said yes. And here we are. So it's not just, it's easy to point to, Annie Downs or, John Burke or all these other ones. And I'm delighted that I have been able to work with so many great authors to help them launch their books. Some of my greatest memories and some of the most fun I've had has been people like Erin Lynham, who you let that idea go, and it found an audience, and it was a good idea, and off we went.
Well, and we're going to come back and talk about marketing in a moment, and I'm going to kind of tag in this idea generation along with marketing. But I do want to talk about the seat that you're in now, because you are the publisher at Kregel Publications. And I don't think a lot of people understand what the actual role of publisher is, because we associate it with the actual company. So as the publisher, what are your core responsibilities? And how does that tie into finding authors like Erin?
Yeah. It's let me describe it this way, and then we'll get to, how does it finding authors part. Our owner, Jerry Kregel, asked me to take on the publisher role. He gave me two core responsibilities. One was lead the team. And that sounds easier than it really is, but I won't go into a lot of it, but part of leading a team is having a vision and making sure the staff understands it and executing that vision and all the details that come into just showing good leadership. That's number one. But the other thing that he said is he wanted, this is where publishing has to work off of. He said, I want refreshed and renewed vision for publishing plans, basically. So he said, lead the team. And I want a new publishing plan for all of our core categories, for fiction, for nonfiction, and for kids and for our academic line. I want a new and refreshed publishing plan. Those are my two main, frankly, there's other things I do as publisher, but those are my two main responsibilities. But this is the point I'm getting to as it relates to what publishers are looking for, which is a publishing plan directs what you're looking for. It has to direct what you're looking for. And a publishing plan is very, very specific about here's the categories we want to publish in. Here's the categories we're not going to publish in. Here is how we are going to build our list. And it also talks about we're looking for not just books in this category, but here's how many we're looking. This is the type of sales expectation that we want from these authors, and it's how it runs the gamut. You publishing, in my opinion, starts with a publishing plan. You have to have a publishing plan. But as it relates to authors then and what we're looking for, that directs what we're looking for. It's not, we could just say, you know what, we're just going to go with whatever book is best. We're just going to go and take whatever we receive and we're just going to get what's best. I don't think that's good publishing. I think good publishing comes at saying, this is who we are. We are a Christian publisher. We are going to publish Christian books. But we're also going to be more specific about within fiction. What kind of fiction books are we looking for and what types of authors? That all directs what we're after. Then the next step, now that we've got those plans, is for us to go to people like Books and Such and say, this is what we're looking for. Help us. This is what we're looking for, so that the agent partners that we have, which are so critical in the publishing process, know exactly what to bring us. Instead of I don't want you guessing, Barb, and like, well, I don't know, what is Kregel looking for? I have no idea what they're looking for. Maybe they'll be looking for this. I have a feeling that that's in some ways how some agents operated with us. And so that's the way, at least I think, you find new authors. Now, let me just say one thing as for some of your audience. That doesn't just mean that we're only going to take and only want to publish established authors in established categories. That's not, I'm not trying to say that. I'm just saying that good publishing starts with what I would call core categories, publish within core categories that readers are reading. But you also want good ideas. And I think a publisher like Kregel, we want new authors. We need to find new authors and new voices, but we can't build our entire publishing program on it. It needs to be a mix. I don't know if that answers your question, but those are my core responsibilities. And I think that's critical.
I think that was supremely helpful because the listening audience, at times, I would think publishing has this mystique around it. Why some publishers sign some authors, some publishers sign others. And as a literary agent, I have the perspective of being able to communicate with your acquiring editors to say, hey, what's on the list of things you're looking for in this season? And our Books and Such team, we take that seriously because we want to send you the projects that you're looking for. But because we stay in communication and you have a good idea of what you're looking for, if we have a project that's pretty special, we can say, hey, this is adjacent to something, but we think it's got a little bit of and then you can look at it and just go, hey, let's talk around the table as a team. Does this make sense? I think that's what writers, that's the education writers need to understand, that different publishers are working off of a plan. It's not just shooting at the hip in the wild, wild west, but you're looking at what your team sells well.
Yep. And then that flows out to my entire team. I mean, I've told my team as they're going out acquiring, talking to agents and even talking to would-be authors, if it's, I mean, I'm not like a dictator, but what I want a plan to do is give acquiring editors focus. That's probably a better way to say it. It gives them focus. Now, a good idea is a good idea. And if a good idea comes in and it happens to be outside of what we're trying to do, I'm certainly open to doing it. I just think that should be the exception, not the rule. What we want is, and that's really, they know one of my first questions when we get in pub board is, how does this fit the plan? How does this fit the plan? So making sure you all, our agent partners, know what that plan is, I think helps everybody, including the authors you're serving. because you're like, I've got a spot for you. I know exactly what Kregel's looking for. This is perfect for them. And you're going to bring it to other places too. But I mean, then it just helps you say, yeah, I'm going to bring that because I think they'll be interested in it because I know what they want.
So I would be remiss, and I believe that the listeners out there are probably on the edge of their seats waiting for me to ask this unplanned question.
Okay, great.
And so in this particular season, what do you see out there that you know at Kregel that you got to go, yeah, these are the kinds of titles that we are feeling really strong in?
Yeah, it depends on the category, right? I mean, it depends on
give me a couple of examples.
Is
Just
it fiction? Is it nonfiction? Yeah. I mean, I'm probably not going to give you the answer that you want, but let's just start with fiction. I think a strong fiction program needs to start by publishing within what I would say core established categories that we know consistently sell. That's really boring, but it's got to start with that. Mm-hmm. So if you're writing, a science fiction dual time, I don't know. I'm trying to come up with something. Somebody probably has had that idea, but hopefully they haven't. A Christian science fiction dual time, Mars, Mercury kind of thing. I'm probably not that interested in that book. It might be a really good story, but I'm really not interested in that book. So it has to start, and that's what my team knows, with core categories. And Barb, everybody hates hearing it, but platform does matter. And so it doesn't mean an author has to have, 20 books and 10,000 email list. And, that's not what I have to look for. It's got to start with a core category. It's got to be a good story. But then I do need to show, that's what I'm looking for first, is sort of a demonstrated ability that you have curated an audience that follows you. I mean, I wish that wasn't the case, but that's where it starts. Now, you can't, once you've done that, once you're doing that and you're publishing within established core categories and trying to get those kinds of authors, part of my plan, I don't mind saying, is we do want some exploration, I'll call it. There is room for new authors. There is room for some, I'll call it, curated books, but that just has to be not the main part of the publishing program. It just sort of, it's not experimental, but it just needs to be a smaller part of the publishing program, if that makes any sense whatsoever.
It absolutely does. And for those who listen to Books and Such, the podcast, they have heard us walk through why publishers are looking for authors who have platform. And we try to walk them through and understand how it benefits them. It's just helpful to hear you on the other end in the seat saying, hey, this is why we need it. I'm going to come back to talking about what Kregel is celebrating. I'm going to come back to that towards the end. I'd like to stay on the marketing end of things, because what are some of the aspects of marketing that authors don't know or understand? Because we talked a little bit about platform, but what are some of the other aspects of marketing?
Well, where should I start? No, I'm only joking. I wanted this question because I do think there's much to share. So I'll try to keep it, to a few pertinent facts in terms of aspects of marketing that authors maybe don't understand. These are in no particular order, but number one is, I think, I don't know if it's the biggest misconception, but a misconception is that marketing starts after the book is finished. And I'm a big believer. I don't know if it's unique to me. Hopefully other marketers do it, but it's always been it's boring, but it's something that's critical to me. I believe in, I'll call it old school marketing, in that marketing starts with the basics. And that this doesn't start at launch. It starts well before launch, which is, you've got to build sort of the house, and which is what, and every one of our authors that we work with gets a marketing plan. And the first things in the marketing plan are, here's who we've identified the target audiences. Here's who we've identified their felt need is. Here's what we think the selling handles for this are. Here is the overall marketing strategy for how we're going to get that. Those kinds of things matter today as much as they did 30, 40 years ago. And I wish more people would do them, but what I've seen is they don't. And so back to the misconception, the marketing doesn't start after the book it starts with positioning. You've got, I call that positioning. You have to position the book, and you've got to get that. What that does is it gets everybody on the same page. The author sees our positioning document, they see all those things, and they have to make sure that what we're thinking, who the audience is, what the felt need is, and how we're going to go get them, does that line up with what you think? That kind of alignment is critical, and that starts well before the book launch even starts. Everybody wants to go to what the cool, clever ideas are, and you can have all the cool, clever ideas you want, but if they're not targeted at who the audience is, if you're not strategic about how you're executing them, they'll just not work. You'll spend a lot of money not. So I would say it this way: marketing is really about, and it starts with, who is this for? What problem does it solve? And why is this author solving it now? What are they uniquely? That's what it starts with. And we need an author's help to answer that. You've got to do that. Who is this for? What problem does it solve? And why this author? What is this author uniquely contributing to this problem? And why are they doing it now? That's what you've got to start with. And I would ask, as an author, if you get a publishing contract, demand that your publisher deliver that, and then the whole marketing plan for the book should revolve around that. That's what you should do.
Oh, that is good. Yeah, keep going. This I don't know, I'm not trying to say sort of these clever cliches, but I do write things down over time. Another thing I think some authors don't understand is that publishers don't create demand, we amplify it. So that's where I talk about platform. You have to start somewhere. And you hopefully start with what an author contributes in terms of their audience, I call it their fans and followers. And I tell authors, again, the bigger the better, that's true. But what I want is, and you can find this out, is not just, I've had authors who've come to me, potential authors who've come to us with a very large social media list, and it doesn't take long to find out that that's a fake list that was bought, and they aren't real followers. So I want to look at how big things are in terms of their platform, but I also want to look at engagement. And I would want your authors to know that. And so back to, we don't create demand, we amplify it. It does start with an author's fans and followers. Don't get caught up on, I gotta be at 10,000. That does matter, but get caught up on, are the people that you have either signed up to your email list or who have liked you or follow you, are you giving them things such that they engage with you? And by engagement, I don't mean a heart, I don't mean a like, I don't mean a thumbs up. What I mean, I don't mean prayer hands. What I mean is, are they actually responding in meaningful ways to what it is you're offering? Like comments, like a comment or a share, things that show that it actually resonated with them. Yep.
Again, we talk a lot about platform a lot, but another thing, but on platform is steady wins the race. Back to what I said earlier about a large platform with no engagement, I can see right through that. So there are opportunities to buy a list. A smart publisher and marketer will be able to see through that. So, be intentional about building your platform, but you can be, if I see slow and steady and engagement and authors giving people real reasons to engage with them, then I'm like, okay, we can work with that. We can work with that.
That's highly, highly encouraging for some of the listeners out there. All right. Do you have anything else you want to share on that? Great.
more, and this is my pet peeve, but this is about, it's not my pet peeve, but this is some authors who maybe are listening have heard me say this.